Answering the questions you never felt you could ask. Who, what, why, when, where, how? Ask those big questions and we can answer them together on MegaQuest.
My name is Tamisa. This is a little bit about me. I want to do this kind of with no editing because I actually can't work out how to do it. I want to do this also with just live, me chatting, me telling you some information, sharing my ideas, sharing what I believe, what I think, and hopefully you will come back to me with some ideas of your own, some arguments. Please tell me that I'm wrong. Also, please tell me that I'm right, or that you think I am, or maybe some different hypothesis. So a little bit about me. My background is my mother was a historian and archaeologist. So I was brought up with history. It's kind of in my veins. I spent time on archaeological digs when I was younger. I have done hours of field walking, kind of know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I now live in the Canary Islands, which is totally different to England, where I was born, brought up and lived for many years. It's a volcanic island, so my interest has now kind of gone sideways a little into geology. But then I went and found out some more history about this area and discovered bits and pieces. So this is my kind of background of me, but this is not what I want to talk about. I don't want to particularly talk about geology. Don't want to particularly talk about archaeology or history. But I want to talk about the big questions, as in mega questions, big questions. So I've always been that little red bird up there. Everybody else quite happily following the herd. And then there's me going, yeah, but why? Yeah, but how? Really? So these are my kind of, this is me. I've always asked, really, what is going on? I've always been that one person. There was a study done, I can't remember who did the study, but it was a big study on psychology, on people, and there was like 10 test subjects. There was three lines and another line that corresponded to one of these lines. 9 of these test subjects were part of the experimental team. 1 was not, random stranger. And 9 of these test subjects said that the line corresponded to another line, which was nothing like it. When it came to the 10th person, they were like, okay, so they said exactly the same line, which obviously was super duper wrong. I wouldn't have been that person. I'd have gone, no. I know 9 people have all said that's right, but I don't think it is right. So it's got me into huge amounts of trouble through my life. I've always been the rebel. I've always been the person who is asking that question, always. So this is me. I was also a history teacher, a geography teacher, and a teacher of religion in school. So it's kind of started me down this rabbit hole of research. I've always done a lot of research. I've always been interested in finding out the answers. Before the internet, I had a ton of books. So, I didn't know the answer to something, I would look it up. I didn't know what bird that was that I was looking at, I would go and look it up. I've always researched, always looked things up. I've never been happy just going, oh, well, it is. Because why is it? What makes it that? So yeah, that's always been me. I lost both my parents when I was very young in my early 20s. So unfortunately, I don't have them to kind of ask things now. The things that have come up recently, things that have come up, things that have that I would kind of like to ask my mum about, or actually my dad, when it comes to things like dreams. And that's kind of my next subject. And I haven't really gone down this rabbit hole very much, but I want to. I just don't know where to start. What are they? What are dreams? Why do we have these weird dreams? I have weird dreams, very peculiar dreams. My father used to have lucid dreams where he would actually physically do things Like you'd be sat in the corner of the room and my mother would wake up. My dad would be like this. And my mother would go, what are you doing? And my dad would be going, parachuting, in a very matter-of-fact sort of way, because that's what he was actually doing as far as he was concerned. I remember most of my dreams. They do not disturb me. I feel that my dream world is kind of an extra world. It's my sleep, not family, but my sleep world, I guess. People in my dreams are my parents, my first husband, my best friend, who are all now not with us any longer. These are the people who are generally in my dreams. I'm always trying to get out of somewhere, quite often manage, but then get myself into something else, a little bit like a labyrinth or a maze, a little bit like my life, I guess. It's been a bit of a labyrinth all my life. But dreams must have a purpose. No, they've got to have something. There's got to be a reason why human beings dream. I don't know, dogs dream, cats dream. You see them sitting there going, nee, and they dream. Why? What do we dream of? Why does our brains go somewhere totally and utterly different when we are sleeping? That's always another huge, great big question. That's one that I will get into and I will research. But the one thing that I have a lot of research on at the moment, and it's always been the huge question in my life, is religion. It's the most controversial subject that I am going to talk about, and I'm probably going to talk about it quite a lot. And I apologize if I offend anyone. You can click past, you can turn off, you can not listen, or you can put in the comments a, whoa, what do you think you are talking about exactly? So I want to go into this whole kind of thing about why billions of people in the world believe in something. Why do we need to believe in something? Why, as a human race, do we need to believe in something? I've been doing a lot of research recently about Christianity, because I'm obviously born in England, in the Western world, and the Western world is very much governed, was very much governed by Christianity. Not so much now, I do not think, but still, it's one way that governs our countries, our lives, our society, and has done for pretty much 2,000 years. But the research that I have done into this recently has kind of answered one of my questions about the fact that, yeah, it's probably all one great big hoax or one great big lie, or maybe not a lie. Lie is a bit strong for that, but it's fabricated. It's fabricated for control. And what better way to control the masses is to say, if you don't do that, then you're going to go to hell. Hellfire, damnation. It's going to be horrendous. It's going to be awful. What better way to control people? So I'm going to go down that route. That's probably going to be the most controversial thing that I'm going to be talking about, maybe, possibly. I also want to talk about the fact that everything is all very, very much connected. And I've recently been kind of looking at things, not particularly looking at things as in research, but many people talk about psychedelics. The drug LSD, it's not LSD, but it's the components of LSD. And there are many controlled scientific experiments being conducted at the moment about the effects of LSD or of psychedelics for people with PTSD, for people with mental illness, for people with depression. So, it's in a very, very positive way. But also there has been analysis done on substances found in very ancient vases from maybe Roman times or before, that have that trace of some sort of psychedelic drug within them. And then when you kind of look at forbidden prophecies, I guess, that didn't actually make it into the Bible as we know it today, these things, if you look at the teachings of what they say Jesus was teaching about, a lot of it is about inner consciousness. A lot of it is about the inner self, the person within, how to reach some sort of higher consciousness. And I've never done psychedelics, little bit scared of it. Kind of want to, but a little bit scared in the same way. Um, but from what I have heard, from what I have listened to, people talking about psychedelics, people who have taken them, these people kind of explain this whole situation of being of a higher consciousness, and maybe meeting a somebody, which could in the end be translated into a god or whatever you want to call him. But yeah, there's definitely something in that. But that's kind of a new thing that I just all of a sudden went, oh yeah, maybe that's what it is. So that's something else that I want to dive into doing. People, as I said before, with the experiment with the lines, people are sheep. People will conform. People do not like to go, but yeah, they don't like to say but, why, when, how, what. They don't. They feel uncomfortable. People feel uncomfortable, and actually, it makes other people feel uncomfortable when people do ask those questions, like me. But yes, this is the whole kind of thing, isn't it? Why do we have this tribe mentality? Every human being, even in social experiments like the British TV program Big Brother, it was a massive social experiment. It was like, let's chuck all these random people in together. I know they were kind of chosen not particularly at random, but let's put all these people together into a house. They don't know each other. Let's add some tasks, or add some problems into this as well, and see how they cope. And always with these situations, someone comes out as a leader. There are people who are born leaders. It's not me, but people who are born leaders, and people who are born followers. And then there's this kind of, there's this people in the middle. But there's always, society always sorts itself out. Look at Lord of the Flies. It's another example. So yeah, it's a massive, 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 massive question. I also would like to say thank you to Mauro Biglino and Graham Hancock, because I think Graham Hancock was how I got into finding out about Mauro Biglino. And Mauro Biglino is an Italian scholar. He was given the task of translating the Old Testament from the Hebrew Bible into, well, he translated it into Italian because he's Italian, but word for word. So without that preconception of, oh, it must be God, must be Jesus, well, not in the Old Testament, must be God, must be these particular words that we use for deities, for gods, etc. So he didn't have that conception to start off with, the theological conception. He did it as a person, and he discovered that actually in the Hebrew Bible, in the not original writings, but as far back as we can go in those writings, he found there was no word for God in the Old Testament. And when I heard that, and I did a lot of research about what he had done and what he'd found out, and the rest of the words and the rest of the story, and the rest of the narrative that is the Old Testament, apart from the fact that I was kind of speechless for a while and my jaw fell on the floor, and I'm like, whoa, okay. How does this impact the entire world? What impact does that have on the belief system of billions of people in this world? And actually, why don't we know about it? So these translations that Mauro Biglino did, I'm pretty sure are now languishing around in the vaults somewhere in the Vatican, with a lot of other things that we aren't supposed to know about as well. But it's not actually well known. And you see things on the news, you see things that are super important on the news, but actually it's nothing more important than the thing that people have been running their lives by for 2,000 years. Is it not more important that we find out that actually what they believe is probably a mistranslation. I don't know. The implications for me, the implications are too big for my brain to actually think about. But it has answered a huge amount of questions for me, because I wouldn't say I've tried religion, but I've tried to understand how people feel who are so devout, to be praying 5 times a day if you're a Muslim, or to go every Sunday to church, or to go several times a week to church, to mass, to to take the blood and the body of Christ, and to have your children christened into this world of I don't know, Christianity, religion. That's something I've never been able to get my head around. So now kind of got my teeth into this. So yeah, I will be going a lot down that route. I'm guessing my next kind of rabbit hole, is that what you call it? I guess my next rabbit hole will be ancient engineering structures, ancient civilization, and things like the pyramids. I mean, what is going on here? There are pyramids all around the world. There are over 100 pyramids in China. You talk to a Chinese person, you say, "You've seen the pyramids in China?" They'll go, "There's no pyramids in China." But in fact, there are. There are a lot of pyramids in China. There are pyramids everywhere. But there are pyramids everywhere, but we don't live in pyramid houses. So it's not, they weren't built because it's like an easy thing to build. We live in round houses, square houses. So it's not an easy construction, easy way to construct a building. So why is it that there are pyramids on the opposite sides of the world constructed? I don't know. They say the general consensus on Egypt is something like 4,500 years ago. But could we do that 4,500 years ago? How did human beings with just stone tools and bronze tools, and remember, bronze is very, very soft, with stone tools and bronze tools, how could they make something so absolutely super perfect? How could they line it up perfectly with the stars, with things like summer solstice, winter solstice, and there's a lot of these around the world that actually line up with these particular events in the year. I mean, the Sphinx, for instance, in the center of that top picture there, the Sphinx, they reckon it was probably a lion before, because it would have lined up perfectly with the constellation of Leo. There are things that we've only recently discovered, but they clearly knew about thousands of years ago. What about that tribe in Mali whose ancient belief system says that they all came from the stars? And believe me, that is not an only them. That is every single religion in the world. Told you I'll talk about religion later, but it keeps coming up. It keeps popping up. But these guys, they know about a star that we did not know about until about 50 years ago, when we had a super duper telescope. But they can tell you this star, and they can tell you its orbit around its sun. They tell you a lot about this star, but these stories have been around for thousands of years. There weren't any telescopes then. What is going on there? Who built these pyramids? Who built Stonehenge? Who built Machu Picchu? Not Machu Picchu itself, but who built those fantastic stone walls? Who built the pyramids in China? Who built Longyu Caves in China? Recently discovered in 1994, I want to say. Who built those? There's no documentation. The Chinese were fantastic at documenting everything. They documented their food, their society, their rules, their regulations, their government, their buildings, their wars, everything. But Longyu Caves is not in there at all. It is not even mentioned. Not to mention the fact there's 24 caves with thousands of tons of limestone being taken out of this area to make these caves. And where did that limestone go? There is not a big heap of limestone outside. where they've dug it out. It's got to have gone somewhere. So that's another big question. Where does all this stone go? What is underneath those pyramids? That Italian team has just said that there's big columns underneath the pyramids going down 600 meters or something with coils around them, which kind of goes with the Tesla whole kind of pyramid electrical generating theory. But what are they? I mean, who made these things? Who did this? I'm pretty sure that the Egyptians came along and went, ooh, look at those, they're quite cool. Think we will take those as our own. And then they started going, well, that's mine, and putting the hieroglyphs on it. We don't build our own houses, do we? We move in to a house that's already been built. We go, that's a nice house. I'll buy that house and I'll move into that house. Everyone does not build their own houses. So why did the Egyptians not say, oh, actually, I quite like those. Let's build our society around here, and I will use those pyramids because I'm big, and I'm a pharaoh, so I'm going to take one of these pyramids as my own resting place, if you like. And they doctored them, and they put beautiful murals on the walls, but pretty sure they didn't actually make them. Now, coming to the end of the first my first uncut YouTube video. But I want to kind of say thank you to these people that have opened my eyes, Joe Rogan, Danny Jones, and all their guests, not just these people, but their guests that they have. Graham Hancock, he's like, oh, yeah, he's amazing. He's actually been one of those people that he's like me. He's gone, actually, don't think you're right. Randall Carson's another one. He's talked about, sacred numbers. He's done a lot of work on the pyramids and the sacred numbers around the pyramids, which are just really makes you go, what? Also, Uncharted X, which I did not put up there, which I should have done, and the amazing work that they have done with, especially the stone vases, some of the stonework in Egypt as well. So they have done a fantastic job with trying to kind of get that question out there. Was it the Egyptians? Did we suddenly go from building mud huts to building a pyramid? I don't know. Did we? So this is why I'm making this podcast. I originally thought I wanted to write a book, which I did start doing, but then I thought, who reads books anymore? Everyone, it's a YouTube search, isn't it? Well, what do you want to find? YouTube search it. And I spend hours and hours and hours watching YouTube, and then I go and kind of corroborate what they've said or not or whatever. But that's what people do now. So instead of writing a book, which I thought I wanted to do, just to kind of still do, instead of writing a book, I am going to put down my ideas in the podcast, which also means that I can talk to people. I can find out ideas. You guys can subscribe, comment, argue with me, please. Love a good argument. It's always good. And tell me what you think. We can answer these questions together in the future. So I'm going to try and do at least one a week, depending on who's working where and who's doing what. But this is not my beach, but I do live very near a beach, and I enjoy the weather here. It's beautiful. As I said, I live in the Canary Islands. So maybe when I get myself a little bit of extra money, maybe I can buy myself one of those nice little tablets, and I can do a podcast from the beach or from the cliff top. It's a little bit windy, maybe, but that option will be there. So I do want to kind of try and make it different, go to different places, different situations, maybe go and even talk to people in different situations, interview people. I have a friend who's very interesting, and I'd love to go and just sit and have a chat with him and video it. He has kind of similar ideas to me, sort of. We have really good chats in the bar over a beer sometimes. So I want to try and change this up, but I will apologise for the fact that it's not edited, because I really can't work out how to do it without making me jump around all over the place. I will apologise for any noises in the background. Now, I have 8 cats and a dog, so this place is never quiet and it's always blowing a hoolie here. So I will apologise for that as well. But in the future, hopefully things will get easier, things will get better. I don't like myself on video very much. That's why at the moment I'm very tiny-miny, which is weird because I spend my entire life teaching English to people around the world on what video. I don't have any problems with that at all. So I will get more confident. I will get more education on how to get these videos out a little bit better. Then, well, let's see where this goes. I really want to get some of these answers out here and give people a chance to tell me what they think. Come and tell me what you think. Please come and tell me what you think. And come and subscribe to my podcast. Okay, so that's the end of the first one. I'm going to stick it to half an hour because I found a good thing that I can use, but I've only got half an hour. Maybe in the future I will use a different platform and a different setup. But bye for now. See you next time. And please, if you do have any questions, chuck them underneath and we'll answer them together. I'm not going to ignore questions because I like a good question. Everybody likes a good question. No, they don't. I like a good question. So let's have some questions. Let's have some thoughts, some ideas, some feelings, and maybe some pointers as I can make it better. I can make this this whole experience a little bit less gut-wrenching for everybody. But anyway, I shall see you next time.
Answering the questions you never felt you could ask. Who, what, why, when, where, how? Ask those big questions and we can answer them together on MegaQuest.